say, win 1 award was pretty amazing. To win 2 was, you sort of think, well, maybe I am doing something right. But at the time, you keep your head down, you get on and do what you do every day.
First day out with the combine this year, is it?
It is, yeah. Some years I do quite a bit, and then another year I hardly drive them at all.
Right, okay.
And that sort of depends on the season and what else we got on.
Is this sort of the job you're looking forward to, or?
I always enjoy the first day out with the combine, but I always enjoy the last even more, because if we had 3-4 weeks of just sunshine like this, it'd be fine, and nice standing crops like we got. But normally you get that. You're sort of chasing the crop and it's all gone down.
So what you're telling me, it's not always like this then?
No, unfortunately.
I thought people talked about sunny Cornwall, and then you come and, well, the sun is shining right enough, but I don't think the last time the boys was here it was that sunny.
No, it wasn't. No, the last time they came we had torrential rain and we was sort of stop-start. I mean, a lot of the season's been stop-start. This is the best probably weather we've had.
I think one of your boys told me at a time, the weather could be like this here, and then the next thing is it just comes in off the sea, like an out of mist, and that just ruins everything.
It does, yeah. It's
really that's a common thing, is it?
2 mile inland from the sea, and you could go 5 mile inland, and it'll still be sun shining. But all along the coast, you'll get this coastal mist and fog, and that, and it just stops everything up.
And how do you deal with that? Like the sun's shining here at the minute, and then the next thing is the mist comes in, and you're standing with a yard full of men. Like, how do you deal with that, or how do you prepare for that, or?
I suppose you don't really. That's why we have to have so much kit and so many blokes to accommodate. So when the sun does shine, we can sort of keep a lot of customers happy at one go. That is the problem. The cost of it is then you've got a lot of blokes. That's why we've kind of got the groundwork side on that as well. So then we can put them on diggers and send them out doing those sort of jobs to keep them busy.
Yes. And are your agri-bows happy enough to go onto a construction site, or?
They don't mind. I mean, some don't like it, and some are quite happy for the change.
Yes.
And that. I mean, we've even got some lads now that were on the ag side and have just gone purely over to the groundworks, and that they prefer driving diggers and doing the sort of building work rather than actually driving tractors and foragers. But it's good then, sometimes the ground workers will want an extra pair of hands. A bit like today, we could do with pinching some of them, but they're quite busy on tarmacking. We've got 6 of them out tarmacking today, 4 or 5 diggers on the go, a couple of lorries out. When the sun shines like this, everything's happening there.
So you sort of have to be a jack of all trades to work the Haywoods then?
You do really, yes, yeah, variation. I always say when people come on with us that you won't get bored being stuck doing the same thing day after day. It's quite a good variation. That you mowing one day, baling the next. I mean, a bit like myself. I can be butt raking one day, then on a forager, on a combine.
You've only been standing drinking tea the last few days. I haven't seen you do anything.
No, I try to keep fairly hands-on if I can.
Yeah. Well, tell me a bit about Haywoods then. Like, how did the business start? Obviously, you're Kevin Haywood.
I am, yes.
Are you the main man? Did you start it, or how did it come to be?
No, my actual dad started it, so obviously AJ Heywood and that. So my dad was Alan Haywood, so he started it in 1979. Was a dairy farmer, was only milking about 30, 40 cows at the time. So, and being right in the middle of the village, I mean, we used to walk the cows through the middle of the village twice a day. Back then it was quite acceptable, but by the mid sort of 80s, with sort of quotas and things like that coming in, and like slurry was a big problem back then, being in the middle of the village.
Yep.
And that, so he couldn't really expand the dairy herd. Decided to go contracting in 1979, so that's when he actually started it. My older brother left school in 79, so he actually started it with my dad when he left school first, And then the sort of group business has grown from there. My older brother left the business by the sort of mid-80s. He preferred farming to contracting, but actually he's now a builder, and that's so he's gone off doing completely a different career. Yeah, we've sort of grown the business from then. Started off just with a trode forager and a couple of tractors. Yeah, over the years we've sort of grown with our customers. I mean, some of our original customers are still farming, but a lot of the small dairy farms around the village have sort of packed up because they were in a similar position, only milking maybe 60 cows at most. So yeah, over the years we've had to adapt the business to suit our sort of clientele really. So, and then I got two other brothers that are now working in the business, but they're both on the groundwork side, and that they both drive diggers now rather than tractors. One brother that drives the 13-ton swing shovel, he'll drive the loading shovel if we need to. The other one drives the JCB Hydro Dig, which is like a rubber duck type machine.
Yes.
So he's on that all the time. And yeah, and I sort of took over the running of it when my dad passed away in 2006. And that he suddenly had a heart attack and passed away quite unexpectedly. Luckily, I was sort of doing a lot of the organising at that time, but still had him there as backup to sort of run ideas through.
Yeah, second opinion or...
Yeah, and although probably like most fathers and sons, you sort of moan about them at the time, you're sort of interfering and in the way and that, but then when they're not there, it's a big shock, and that to have all that weight on your shoulders and you've got to make the decisions whether they be right or wrong. Yeah, that was a tricky season, that was, but as you do, you get through it and just sort of, we still have got good lads and that, and they help support and muscle in where they got to. Which I think in this industry, you need people like that around you to pick up the slack when needed, and that they all sort of understand that when the weather's good, you're flat out. You can have a bit of time off when it goes quiet.
Well, that's the thing, like it works both ways too, and if it comes to the bit that they need you, well, they know that you're there to help them as well.
That's right, yes, yeah. And I think me being out on the machines with them, if we're out till midnight or sometimes later on the machines foraging and we've got to get jobs done because of the weather, I'm there with them. I'm not sat back at the office, or I'm not gone home at 8 o'clock, put my feet up, and I'll be the sort of almost the last man standing.
I thought that was the bonus of being the boss, Paul.
Well, it's supposed to be, yeah.
Last man out or first man home, no?
No, I'm afraid it don't work like that. Well, not in our yard, but I wouldn't imagine there's many contractors' yards like it. But that's the way I like to run it. That I try to lead from the front, and that's why I think it's important that carry on driving the machines. There isn't really anything in my yard that I can't drive, so if somebody wants a day off and that, then I can sort of cover it, and even when we're drilling and ploughing and that, I can sort of work weekends to give the lads time off.
Well, what did your father start off with whenever he started the contracting?
So he started off with a little JF trode forager, and he had a 955 International, and that was a T-Reg.
Two-wheel drive?
Two-wheel drive, yeah. And we had a couple of little tiny International, like 784s and that for ferrying trailers, and little tiny 4-ton silage trailers. But we did buy a Rico self-propelled in the late 80s, SF5 600 I think it was, which back then there weren't many self-propelleds about. We kept that for, I was still going to school. I was only like 13 at the time when we bought that, but that sort of got sold before, just as I was sort of leaving school. When I sort of started getting more involved in the running of the business, we were only doing about 1,000 acres a year of silage then with the 2 trail machines. But then in 2000, I think it was 2000 or 2001, it was the year of foot and mouth. I'd started doing like the groundwork side to keep us busy in the winter, because we didn't really have any winter work. In fact, me and my brother used to go out and help some local dairy farms in the winter, doing like scraping up and bedding up and that, because we were that quiet. But I just couldn't see that the business would survive carrying on in that way, so I managed to convince Father to let me buy a New Holland self-propelled in, like I say, it was either 2000, 2001, whatever the year the foot and mouth was, and then the sort of business, sort of grew from there and now we're doing roughly about 8,000 acres a year of foraging, so it's sort of grown steadily over the last 20 plus years. I'm a great believer in, we could do a lot more. We've got more capacity with the 2 machines. Even at 8,000 acres, some would say, well, you should better do that with 1 machine. But the logistics of where we're to a lot of our dairy customers are sort of 150 acres. We're trying to do 2 of them in a day, just wouldn't work, and I'm a great believer in trying to do things properly, not do too much that you stretch yourself thin. That you can actually accommodate if people ring up at short notice because of the weather, and that you just jump on things quickly and give a good service.
Well, looking at your fleet of stuff, you're a bit of a John Deere fanboy. When did you went from International to New Holland?
Yeah.
When did John Deere come into the mix?
So that would have been 2009. We'd been running New Holland foragers since, early 2000s. Had the New Holland tractors. I bought my first John Deere tractor in 2003. That was a little 6320.
Yes.
And then we'd had a few problems with the New Holland foragers. We'd bought an FX50 that didn't perform as well as I'd hoped. It just, a very casual conversation one day with a John Deere dealer, just sort of, how much is a new self-propelled? Within 2 months of asking the question, I think we'd done a deal on a new 7450. And that's where I sort of got into like the harvest lab. Thought the idea of being able to measure dry matter and tonnage, because back in 2009 that was what it could only do, the dry matter and tonnage, whereas now we're doing sugars, proteins, starch, everything, ME. We've kind of progressed with John Deere on that, and there was something at the time, it just ignited my enthusiasm for the technology, and we've sort of gone with it. And that really.
Just stuck with them since?
Yes, we have, We only had one harvest lab to start with, and that on the new machine. The 7400 didn't have it on, but we quite soon found out that customers were sort of asking, well, why have I got the machine with the harvest lab?
Yeah.
So once they'd had that information and that, they didn't want us to come in without it. So we had to bite the bullet and buy a second harvest lab. As we've changed the machines, we've updated the harvest labs and that, and then bought like the manure sensors and all that as well.
Yep. So many tractors you're actually running now then?
So we've got 9, I think it is in total, ranging from a 6930, which is the oldest one in the fleet, and that right through to 250. Which we've only just bought this year. We were, till then, the biggest one we had was a 215, but we bought a 5 metre combination drill last autumn because I was trying to get more efficiency so we could do more in a day with one man, and that we had 2 3 metre units out running on sort of like 195s. So I decided to buy a 5 metre Pottinger combination drill. But the 215, it was powerful enough, but it just didn't have the lift capacity.
Right, okay.
And the only time it really felt safe was when the front tank was full, and that because it sort of balanced it up.
Yes. Is she still the same frame as the 250?
It is, yes, yeah. But the lift capacity, and I suppose they're on 710 tyres, the 42s, the other one's on 650s, and it's made a heck of a difference.
Right, okay.
I can't believe the difference between a 215 and a 250 would be so different.
So is she your pride of the fleet then?
It is really, yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, if I'm on a tractor, that's normally the one that I sit on. So we got like I say, ranging from 6.9 to the 250, and then we got 185s, 155s in between. The 185s and the 155s seem to fit quite well, sort of jobs that we do.
Yep.
And that sort of baling, hedge trimming, dung spreading. You can tell it's a bit damp because we're crimping it. And that is taking a little while to come out the auger, whereas if it was.
Oh, so this map here, does she tell you then where your heaviest bulk is then?
Yes,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So we got the chart on this side, so 10 tonne a hectare is the highest. So green is heavy, purple's light, and that. So.
Oh, why it's getting heavier the more and more we move into the field there then?
It probably would do, yes. Yeah, you can see there's more yellow around the first time, and then we've got more green as we're going in, and that, which is pretty standard. And that, and then obviously you've got these little bits of purple just where you've overlapped on the corners and that. So and we've got that set for yield, but you can have that for moisture, map, whatever you want. So, and then we we just let the customers have that, and then they can keep back for the records and that as well. And that, so they got a visual of each field, and also we tell them at the end how many tons they've got and that. So that's what Pete, the guy that was back at the office, and that he sort of does all like the AMS side and yield maps and that. He's just done his FACS qualified course,
Yes.
so that he can now be our sort of in-house sort of advisor to our customers, and that on like slurry nutrient plans, fertilizer plans, soil sampling,
Right, okay.
and that sort of thing. And that.
Tell the customer when to go then.
Yes. Whether that'll ever work, I don't know. But yeah,
Oh, well, that's true, yeah. Well, you sort of cover most aspects of farming, like between the combine and the grass, the baling, the slurry. You know, like, is there anything you don't do really?
The only thing we don't actually do would be crop spraying.
Right.
We haven't got any. I haven't got a sprayer. A bit of a dedicated job where you need to be working with the weather, and I think if we did have one, we'd have to sort of nominate somebody to be in charge of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably much about the only thing that we don't really do. Everything, all other aspects, from like I say, arable, ploughing, drilling, foraging, baling, edge cutting, slurry,
Yeah.
and that. So yeah, we try to offer a bit of a one-stop shop, and a lot of our groundworks is for our sort of dairy and agricultural customers, and that. We've just finished a job now, just put in 6 new robots for one customer. If a customer wants his silage done or a silage clamp made, then hopefully we can sort of accommodate it
Yes.
within the business. And that, even down to things, we've got our own engineering department that do a lot of precision engineering, but also fabrication and that. So if a customer wants a bespoke gate made for a cubicle shed or some railings or something, and that we can make it in-house and for them as well.
Well, you just do everything. Like, you just literally just do everything.
Pretty much.
So, is this how you got Contractor of the Year then? Or tell me about that. How did that come about, or what's the process for that?
Yeah, I mean, we were nominated to enter. Didn't think we stood a chance of even making it to the top 3, let alone winning it. So, yeah, so I sort of entered, wrote down, how the business started, what we do, and that, and then obviously, made it through to the finals. And then when the judges came round, same there, just sort of told them basically like we have really sort of what we do, how we do it, what my vision is for the business, and how it's sort of grown and hopefully continue to grow. So obviously they must have liked what I said. So yeah, and we were up against some good competition. Obviously, to do the same again with the British Farming Awards, make it to the finals of that, and then win that as well was and we made it to the finals of the Arable and Grassland Awards, and that's so we were a finalist in that. Unfortunately, we didn't do the triple. Like I say, win 1 award was pretty amazing. To win 2 was, you sort of think, well, maybe I am doing something right.
Yeah.
But at the time, you keep your head down, you get on and do what you do every day. I like to think it hasn't gone to our head, because it's quite a personal achievement for me being a contractor. I mean, it's quite good for the lads as well, because like I said, I can't drive everything.
Yeah.
There's 25 of us every day, so it's quite a big team. That's with the groundwork side as well. Even the groundwork supports the ag, and the ag supports the groundwork, so they both kind of need each other. It's, a real team effort, and that, and testament to the lads that we've got, and that with their hard work and that as well. Because as we all know, contracting and agriculture in general isn't a 9-to-5 job. It's not an easy job to be in. And of course now I've been part of the judging for this year's awards, so I've had to be a judge for the Farmers Weekly and the British Farming Awards, and I think it's probably made me appreciate what goes into it. We've had a lot of touring around looking at different contractors, the judging process, and that was it was quite good fun. But I think it's made me appreciate winning it more by being a judge than what I was actually being a contractor.
Yes.
And that you realise how lucky you are actually to even make it to the finals.
And why is that? Because you're going out and seeing how good everybody else is as well?
It is, yeah. Like I say, the ones we visited this year and that on both awards of, I almost said, crikey, I'm glad I'm not up against them this year.
Yes.
And that, but yeah,
So who's going to win it this year?
I can't say. Top secret. Contractors are quite a dedicated, bunch. Crowned Contractor of the Year when you've got all this competition, and that is quite a proud moment really.
Well, what is your favourite job to go to in the contracting?
Probably my favourite is still foraging. Although I haven't done quite as much foraging this year. I mean, I drove forager for 20 odd years, and then a couple of years ago I sort of stepped back and let the other lads drive the 2 machines.
Well, on the foraging side of things, what are you running? Like, what are you buck raking with? What are you mowing with?
So mowing, just bought the Big M this year.
Was that your first one?
It is, yes. Okay. Yeah. We were actually running just 2 sets of double mowers. So we had 2 195 tractors with 2 front and back mowers, a set of Pottingers, and a set of Crones, front and back. We sort of looked at triples beforehand, but it didn't really fit at the time. We only actually mow probably about half of what we forage at the moment, and that. But we were then getting that we were having to send 2 guys out, 2 tractors, 2 sets of mowers, and that. So this time last year, really, I started looking at where we were going to go with tractor sizes for this coming season, what we were using big tractors for, and that. So decided to try and shrink the horsepower down a bit, just have one mainline tractor, which is a 250, and then bring everything else back to like 155s and 185s, and which is what drove me to then buy the Big M.
Yes.
So.
And what's your thoughts so far?
Well impressed. Yeah. It was a big commitment and a big financial commitment on that, which took a lot of justifying. But until we started looking at the price of 300 horsepower tractors and triple mowers, and when we actually sat down and did the sort of sums, we had quotes for them all, it was actually cheaper to buy a Big M than it was a 300 horsepower John Deere and triple mowers.
Right, okay. But you know there is other tractor brands out there.
Oh yeah, sure, yes.
You don't just have to buy John Deere.
No. I suppose in my eyes it fits in with all the technology and the ops centre and that. So yeah, no, I quite often get told that you don't have to buy that colour green. As I did the sums on it, and yes, as everybody told me when I started pricing it up, that you've got the tractor to use for other jobs. It wasn't until I sat down and worked out how much a 300 horsepower tractor costs to run per hour, you then realise that actually you shouldn't use it for jobs other than the mainline jobs. Yeah. And that if you start putting it on a silage trailer or baling or just general running, umbilical and hedge cutting, those sorts of jobs.
It's costing you money at that stage, like.
It is, yeah. The sum I came up with was about £70 an hour for a 300 horsepower tractor, and if we're doing a silage trailer at £50-60 an hour, and that you're actually losing money.
Yeah.
So you don't kind of have to park it in the shed when it wasn't mowing or drilling. The temptation would be too great. If you were short of a tractor, you'd still go and take it out, even though you knew it was losing your money. So I've actually took that temptation away. That I can't use the Big M for anything else. No different to a combine. It does the job it wants to do, and it will last. We've looked at it as like a 10-year investment. That's how I've sort of calculated the cost. And I've been well pleased with this year. I mean, because of the weather, it's actually been a godsend, because we've had people ring up at short notice and say, look, I've just seen the weather, you've got a 3-day window, can you come and start mowing now? And normally that tractor would be off doing something else. You'd have to get the tractor back, hitch it all up, and that to hitch triples up, it's probably an hour's work to get it all hitched up, whereas the Big M, you go in, turn the key, if it's all greased and ready to go, which it normally is.
I'll give you a tenner if you can cover a bit of that on to Craig. I'll give you a tenner now.
No.
Oh no. Well, baler wise, we were out yesterday and got them going, but they're not the most sort of popular balers, the Masseys. Or how did they come about?
So we've been Welger stroke Lely all along. When I left school, my dad had Welger balers. That was what I cut my teeth on, and that. So we've kind of stuck with the original Welger Lely, really, and that. And of course, Agco bought Lely 4 or 5 years ago now, I think. So it's the Lely baler that I've kind of in my head got. I know my way around a Lely baler. I know how the net works, all the bearings. We keep chains and sprockets and everything on the shelf. The actual basics of the machine and how all the net knives and all that work is pretty much the same as even the Welger earlier RP12s is what I started driving when I left school, and obviously they've got a lot faster and that since then. And then obviously when Agco bought Lely, they sort of refined the machines and got a lot more compact machine to what we got now.
You never thought about joining the McHale Club then?
And we had one on demo here only a few weeks ago. Very good machine. I would probably say speed-wise, the McHale was quicker on its bale transfer
Right.
than the Massey. But some of our customers have said that the Massey actually makes a better shaped and a better, tighter bale.
Forager wise, what you're running?
So we're running 2 John Deere foragers, an 8500, which is a 2019 machine, and an 86, and that which is a 2022 machine. Probably wouldn't go any bigger. We did have a 95 on demo here back earlier in the season. Yeah, good machine and that, but we don't really need the extra power.
Right,
And
yeah.
I think the size forager we've got fits everything we want to do.
So you don't think if you went the likes of a one single 9.9 and got rid of the 2 harvesters, that wouldn't be any benefit to you at all?
I don't think it would. No, logistically it wouldn't work. We just couldn't physically get 2 customers done in one day.
But if you could finish one customer and then go to your next one,
Yeah, I mean, the problem with there, you'd be turning up at 1 at maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that when they want you there at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
So I'd rather have 2 machines that can do 150 acres and keep 2 customers happy than rely on 1 machine and try and do 300 acres in a day. And that, like I say, the pit sizes, we've tried putting 2 on the clamp where we can this year with the compactors and that, but it's not every pit we can physically do it.
Yep.
And that just isn't enough room. The yards aren't big enough to get big tri-axle trailers in. So yeah, everything sort of fits quite nicely at the minute. What we can mow in a day is what we can rake, trailer sizes, pit sizes. So same there. It's not all about doing the quantity in a day. It's trying to get that quality as well. Put it in the clamp properly.
was that the key to contracting and keeping your customers happy?
It is really, yes, yeah. Even though possibly it costs us more to offer that service, efficiency, is number one for a business. But then sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture. And that is
Well, that's it maybe costs more money to lose a customer too.
exactly.
Right.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And as we find with the windows of weather, you have a lot of work to do in a small window. So you're relying on that one machine.
Well, then say you have the 2 harvesters out in the one day. I know you had a 419 yesterday. What's on the other pit then?
So we tend to use the 250 and that
Right,
then.
okay.
So we'll put the butt rake either on the front or the back, depending on the pit size and how much room we got. If we've got plenty of room, on the front is the preferred way of doing it now, and the compactor on the back. If it's a bit of a sort of small pit or we're having to go back over maybe first cut, put second cut on top, then we tend to put the butt rake on the back of the tractor.
Yes.
It's good that we got quite a few lads that can jump around and do different things, and that depending on the day's work. You may have a lad that's less experienced on the balers. If you've only got maybe 20, 30 acres to bale, it's better to let him go and do that and get a bit more experience and that. But when you've got 100 acres to bale, you kind of need your best lads on the balers that day, which is where we probably struggled a little bit with the butt raking. It's very difficult to be able to teach lads how to butt rake and that, because you never got the time and that.
Yes.
You've got a lot of trailers coming at you and that, so you need to be on it, which is where we're trying to go with like maybe 2 on the pit, that we can give the younger ones chance to learn, because they're not the ones carrying that pressure.
Yes.
And that they can maybe just work the compactor for a few days and get used to being on the clamp.
Well, that's the other thing. You're nearly all compactor trailers, aren't you?
We are, yes. Yeah, we've been compactors for at least 10 years. And that, 'cause
Oh, as long as that?
Yeah.
You must have been one of the
because,
first, would you have been?
Possibly, yes. I mean, the first ones we had were Flegel, German-made trailers.
Yep.
And that, so that's what we started off with, the compactors. We had a couple of them because we were looking for a way of calibrating the foragers quite accurately. We wanted something with weigh cells on, and at the time, sort of tipping trailers with weigh cells didn't really work that well, and that. So that's why we went to the compactors. But then once we had the compactors, I wouldn't go away from them.
And in fears now with the change of ownership?
Yeah. I mean, I was a little bit worried at the beginning, obviously, when I heard K2 had gone into administration and that, and I thought we might have ended up with a load of machines that nobody want to buy second hand. Quite pleased when I heard that Red Rock had bought the...
You're maybe thinking you're going to get a lot of cheap trailers, them sitting over there doing nothing.
Well, yeah, true.
Like, why are people still sticking with that tipping trailer?
I think purely the cost. I think
Right.
people get put off by the cost of a pushing trailer and that versus a tipping trailer. I mean, I think everybody I speak to loves the idea and probably would buy more of them, but they just look at the cost versus a tipping trailer and sort of think, well, I can't really justify the cost. But yesterday, where we were silaging to, and and that dry grass.
Yeah.
You know, we had 3 pushers, and somebody came in and out with a tipping trailer, but we would have had to have probably 5 tippers to replace those 3 pushers, and that because you're carrying such little grass when it's so dry. You know, you're probably only getting 2-3 ton of grass in a 12-ton trailer, and that. So, you know, because even the K2s, we sometimes struggle to get 5 or 6 ton of actual weight when it's so dry, and that's even compacting it up. Yeah, especially, you know, with the cost of tractors. You know, so you take the cost of the tractor, the man, the diesel. Suddenly, your pusher trailer isn't actually that expensive, but it's that initial outlay of perhaps spending an extra 15 grand on a pusher compared to a tipping trailer, isn't it? So.
Well, what about this combine? How long have you here now?
So this one would be 10-year-old now, or 10th season then, so it's 2015, and that we bought it brand new. Back probably 10 years ago, we were doing about 1,000 acres a year of corn. The acres have dropped off quite a bit now. We're probably back down to about 500 acres a year.
Right.
That's
a brave drop, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's been a steady decline, and it wasn't just all of a sudden it just dropped, and that over the last 10 years.
But I would have thought down this part of the world, whenever the weather is predominantly good, this would be like arable country, no?
Not in our area. No, where we're actually to in sort of North Cornwall. I mean, you go 30 mile down the road, and that's quite a big arable area, and you go 30 mile, 40 mile up the road, and that is quite a big arable area. But where we're to, we are quite mixed, and that. So it's not a large acreage of arable maize. We can grow grass, so that's kind of what our customers tend to sort of stick to. But to give you know, we had a customer that used to do about 150 acres of corn. He would have been our biggest customer at the time, and now it's all into maize. So so that was, you know, a big hit that we lost there, and quite a few others have either changed farming methods or actually, you know, which is probably why now we haven't actually updated this one. And that if we were still growing, you know, 1,000 acres or harvesting 1,000 acres, this one probably would have been updated 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes.
And that, but I mean, doing 500 acres a year, this machine will probably still do another 2 or 3 seasons now. And that, but.
And what's customer loyalty like around here?
Dare I say, it's okay, but we have got a lot of competition in our area. I mean, I could probably count at least 20 contractors within a 30, 40 mile radius. Yeah, a lot of self-propelleds in our area, and that. Obviously, competition is a good thing for any business because it keeps you sharp, keeps you on your toes, and that stops you from getting complacent. The problem I find is it suppresses the price, and that you can't actually charge what we really need to for the price of the kit because everybody's really, although we stick to our customers, everybody's chasing the same work. Yeah, that's why I try to be honest with my customers, and you know, we did have an incident this year where we actually lost 170 acres of first cut because I couldn't get there until the Sunday morning, and another contractor could get there Saturday night.
For a space of 12 hours, like.
Yeah. Luckily, you know, came back to us and had us do second cut. But I think if you're honest with your customer, tell him that no, this is where I'm to. Even, you know, I could have lied to him and said, I'll get there Saturday night, knowing full well that I couldn't.
But then that's the last time you get that job.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like I say, loyalty's quite good, but because there's so much, you know, competition, you do have to be careful that you know, you don't give away some of your work and that. And that's kind of what drove us to the harvest labs and the manure sensors and things like that. That hopefully we can sort of offer something that others can't, so that they might sort of wait a bit longer.